Welcome to the iRacing Esports Network, and welcome to the heartland of America for the latest race meeting in the World GT Championship. There are just 3 race meetings to go. Tonight's here at Barber Motorsports Park. Next week over at Atlanta in Georgia, and then we end the season at Spa in Belgium. This is rounds 22, 23 and 24 of the season. 3 20-minute sprint races coming up, plus 2 reverse grids. And alongside me in the commentary box, alongside me Adam Buff for this one, is Sam Fitzpatrick. And Sam, welcome. Barber, it's the IndyCar series was racing last night. Very quick circuit. Going to be very difficult to overtake because there are quite a few quick corners around this circuit. The drivers are going to have to get inventive out there.
Yeah, certainly a lot of long corners around this circuit as well. And I think it's very much a favourite among the drivers at this point. Maybe a circuit which has been increased in its use recently, I'd say, in iRacing. And certainly very welcome in this series as well. But certainly the racing around here can be absolutely superb, particularly that kind of turn 4 section, very wide entry, big braking zone, and that could be very interesting into that one. So should be a good day of racing, and I'm sure we're going to have 3 different winners tonight.
So yeah, this series has always provided some great racing over the years. The qualifying session is underway at the moment, so we can get away from the race info and get up the timing tower for you so we can see who is currently where. Josh Thompson currently on provisional pole. There he is, sporting a new livery for this week. As far as we're aware, he's still with the same team, but just the change in colours for him, and he's currently on provisional pole with a 1:16.79. 2 seconds of a second quicker than Carl Janssen second. Then it's Christian Rose third, Ash Sutton fourth, a winner in the British Touring Cars. There you go, I've spoiled it for you all. And then Jake Blackhall in a 5th place, with the top 10 rounded out by Jason Dilworth, Michael Hall, Miguel Freitas, Andy Scheel and Dave Baker. And just looking at those times, Sam, it's remarkably close. The from Rose in 3rd all the way down to Phillips in 15th, separated by a second. And if you take Phillips out of the equation, half a second covering 12 cars.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super close out there, as we've seen throughout the season. I'd say, if anything, the order has closed up a little bit as the season's gone on. And yeah, really has produced some fantastic racing out there. But Josh Thompson, he has been superb in qualifying so far this season. I believe the first 6 meetings, I believe he took pole position at every round. A couple of penalties since then. Of course, some of the drivers out here will have got penalties and so can't take qualifying. It seems like Josh is okay to do it today, and already got 2 tenths on his rivals, but certainly counting plenty of other drivers. It'll be interesting to see how that BMW shapes up around this circuit, because so far we've seen it to be extremely competitive.
Looking here at Chris Wood, who's just put in a new personal best, a 17.6 to put him into 15th place. A few other drivers putting in some laps. Purple by Ash Sutton here, but in the first sector anyway. And there he goes, into 2nd place. Helps if I was focusing on him. Into 2nd place he goes with a 16.802. Purple sector 1 and final sector as well, but just not enough. We're talking fractions here to trouble Josh, to get past Josh Thompson. As you can see, the distance between them is just 12 thousandths of a second. And just looking there at the intervals, you can see how close it is all there too. But that's the distance between Thompson and the rest of them. We'll see if Sutton fancies another crack at it with just a couple of minutes to go in the session. In terms of the Pro-Am Championship, we haven't really got onto the points. We'll get onto them in a bit. Here is Simon Underhill. He is currently the highest Am. He is coming out of the pit lane now, and we can sort them by Pro-Am and Pro. And it's Underhill that's currently leading the way there, with Woodhouse, Mark Woodhouse in 2nd. Adam Hedgecock, fresh off the back of his first BSRTC meeting last week at Brands Hatch, in 3rd. Michael Blake 4th and Paul Smith in 5th. Sam, you organised that. Good opening start to the season, I thought. Hopefully nothing's kicked off since me and Andrew Woodhouse signed off at the end of Thursday. But it was good to be back there anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. As a really good series organiser, I didn't actually watch it. I was unfortunately on the other side of Apex Racing TV and broadcasting the Sim Racers World GT series, which came to an end on Thursday. But no, from what I heard, absolutely superb racing. Apparently very clean driving. Slightly smaller grid, only 35 drivers, only 35. So I think it maybe calmed it down a little bit, and certainly looking forwards to later on the weekend. Of course, like you said, a few drivers in this series, of course, taking part in that championship as well. So there's a few rivalries across series on Apex Racing TV that we cover that can boil over potentially. And well, I'm sure there'll be plenty of scores to settle out there today. And of course, Matt Bunn, organiser of this league, currently in 21st position. Another BMW driver, of course, another driver who took that swap. It's part of the reason why Josh Thompson is so far behind in the championship, because everyone who swapped to the BMW took a 200-point deficit, unfortunately. And Matt Bunn, one of those drivers, seemingly. And yeah, he's currently in 21st position, but looking good.
He is. Yeah, Matt Bunn in 21st place, 118.0 for him. See if he can improve here at all. So far, the early signs aren't great. Just looking there, not too much in the way of green sectors. Let's follow this BMW through now into the final few corners. There's cars all sorts of all over the place there. Bunn getting demoted a position actually as we're going through the final corner. There you can see all yellow boxes. See if it's going to be an improvement here as he comes across the line. It's a green in the final sector. Is it enough to move him up from what's his 22nd place? And the answer is no. So Matt Bunn stays in 22nd. 5th place, Jake Blackhall is now coming into the final corner, and he's not going to improve if he does anything like that. But here is Ben Palmer. He was just behind the spinning Aussie. And let's see if he can improve. Over the line he goes. And that was an outlap, so he's going to be starting that now. What about Dan Kraft? He's on an outlap too. So everybody's about to start their final flying lap set.
Yeah, of course, these drivers can set as many lap times as they like, but you're absolutely right. We've still got 2 more minutes in this session to go, so yeah, they're just going to miss out on an extra one, unfortunately. Quite a short lap here at Barber. You can see that very long turn too that they have to execute. Janssen to pole position. There's a great lap there from Carl Janssen. Of course, the championship leader really has been superb in recent weeks. And Ash Sutton home to go back to the pits. Josh Thompson can't improve. Sorry, he's actually just going to set a fast lap now. So we'll have to keep an eye on his sector time, see if he can improve. Seemingly quite a good start to the lap. Of course, no ABS in these cars, I believe, and so down into this corner can be extremely difficult. But Thompson, so far a decent lap, not a purple first sector, but he's certainly in range.
See what Thompson can do. He might have to worry about the early advances of Sutton, but of course he'll be wanting to get the pole position back as he goes through here. See what he can do now as he begins to wind it up through the S's. Ben Palmer putting in a decent lap there, 17.1 to put him into P5 with just a couple of minutes to go. Paul Smith goes 25th, a new personal best for him there. Dan Kraft at the bottom of your screen, 2 green boxes. He goes straight up to 4th, 1:16.9. Good lap there by the privateer. Can Josh Thompson snatch the pole position back from Carl Janssen? He might squeeze one more lap in, but this might be where the tyres are at their best. Green sector 2, yellow sector 3, and what about sector 4? It's yellow, but will it be an improvement on his time? It is not. 16.932, which isn't a poor lap by any stretch of the imagination. It would put him, if that was his personal best, it would have put him just behind Sutton on the grid. But for now, it's going to be him starting second, and it will mean that Carl Janssen, as long as he's not troubled by Ash Sutton, is going to be in with a chance of pole position. But it looks like Sutton's starting a final hot lap now, Sam. And let's see if he can improve as we go on boards with the British Touring Car driver for a lap of the Barber Motorsports Park.
Yeah, I didn't think he would have time to set this lap time, but crossed the line with about 5 seconds to go. And well, this could be very strong for Ash Sutton. See him just braking at the 2 meter board there. I don't know what those numbers represent, by about 50 meters, I imagine. And yeah, then accelerating out of the corner. Pretty good first sector. Not a personal best though from what I can see. And now heading down the hill, of course, taking a lot of that second curve. Just about getting it stopped, and then accelerating again out of the corner. And then these 2 chicanes. First one take a lot of curve on the inside, I imagine. Yes, a lot of curve. And the second one as well, pretty much flat out in these GTE cars, despite the hot weather we've got here at Barber Motorsport Park. And in this second sector, very difficult, so easy to run out wide onto the grass. They kept it very neat and tidy. A personal best sector 3, just maybe struggling with the turn in ever so slightly at the end of that one. And an early turn in for the final corner. I don't think this is going to be enough to improve, but we'll wait and see. Crosses the line, and he does go onto the front row of the grid ahead of Josh Thompson, only 4/100ths off pole.
Good out there from Sutton. Yeah, just 400ths of a second away. Carl Janssen, over line he goes, and he's able to improve. He does a 16.6 to extend his advantage at the front. Of course, this is only qualifying. The main part of the business is done in the race. Lee Deemer, let's see what he can do. The Simmortal Dragon Internet car coming through the final corner now. Currently P34. And it's 125.260. Gets improved. Not at all. Must have been invalidated lap. Not too sure how that was possible, but yeah, he remains in P34 and the last car to set a time in this session. 4 cars haven't set times. They are Stuart McFadden, Tom Jacobs, Chris Daines and Robert Lundgren. Whether they take to the grid remains to be seen. So let's run you through the starting grid then for the first race of the day. 3 20-minute sprint races, reverse grids to come after this race and after race 2. It's a Swede on the pole, it's Carl Janssen, then it's Ash Sutton starting alongside him on the front row, Josh Thompson in 3rd, then Dan Crafts 4th, Christian Rowe starting in 5th, then Ben Palmer in 6th, Jake Blackhall, despite that spin that we saw earlier, starting in P7, and Jason Dilworth in P8, Michael Hall starting in 9th, and the Portuguese Miguel Freitas starting in 10th. 11th for Andy Shield, 12th is Dave Baker, 13th on the grid is going to be Chris Wood, with Ross McFarlane then after him, Barry Baird in 15th for Nomad Blue, and then the first of the Pro-Am cars in Simon Underhill. Ben Gregory in 17th place, Excite Audio SRD, Dion Phillips there in 18th, then Ben Hackerson 19th and Daniel McCauley in 20th. 21st, Mark Woodhouse, Matt Bunn. Not able to improve too much, up to 22nd by the end of the qualifying session. Rusty Daidler starting in P23, Adam Hedgecott moving from the Kia back to the sports cars, he's in P24. Then it's Michael Blake, Paul Smith, David White and then Lars van Ryn. And we continue on further back. 29th, Paul Gosling, Mike Gray in 30th, Jason Rowe 31st, John Roberts, the Booster with Savage Gaming car in 32nd spot, Ronald Moon starting in P33, and then it's Lee Deemer, Chris Daines, and the cars that didn't set times, Stuart McFadden, and then Tom Jacobs in the Team Lizard car, and then Robert Lundgren starting at the back. Swedes bookending this grid, Sam, one on pole, one at the back.
Yep, absolutely, and well, certainly the one at the front is going to have a great chance of winning this race. Of course, the full formation lap we have here at Barber coming up, and then of course we will be away. But Janssen recently has just been, I'd kind of say, a class above everyone else in terms of his consistency. Not necessarily about his pace, but he's always seems to just have that extra 2/10. Of course, we saw that fantastic duel between himself and Josh Thompson at Daytona last time. We saw plenty of other drivers having the pace to challenge them, just making mistakes in the important moments. But Janssen and Thompson, of course, went down to a few hundredths of a second between the pair of them at the line, and hopefully that rivalry will be renewed once again here. But Janssen, if he can get out in the lead after those first couple of corners, he is going to be looking very good for yet another race victory.
Cars on the formation lap, then it is a full one around here. Porsche safety car also in there. Let's get the let's just have a quick look and see what it's like in terms of the manufacturers, whereabouts they all are on the grid. You can see here we've got Ford on the pole and Janssen, and then after that the next Ford you're going to find is Barry Baird starting in 15th place. In between that you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 BMWs with 3 Porsches and just the one Ferrari and Ross McFarlane. Obviously the BMW is the new car, but they seem to have really found some pace in it now around this circuit as we approach the end of the season. And you just wonder whether the deficit that they were given for changing cars during the season might just pay off towards the end. We haven't really touched on the points, but the first BMW in the championship is Josh Thompson. He's in P9. He was fighting for the title until he made that switch. Going into this race, he is 355 points behind Carl Janssen at the top. So you'd have to say, Sam, we would have to take a shocker of a race meeting, maybe two shockers of race meetings on Janssen's part, and maybe a couple of the other drivers in front for Thompson to get back into the championship. But as we come around now to complete the formation lap, anything's possible. So let's wait and see. Right then, safety car into the pits, getting set for the first race of the day. Cars going through the final corner, getting set for round 22 of the World GT Championship. It's Ford versus BMW on the front row. It's Carl Janssen versus Ash Sutton. Green lights are on. We are away, and Carl Janssen immediately slots in front of the BMW of Sutton going into the first corner. Is Josh Thompson going to be able to get involved at all? He's got Sutton's teammate Daniel Craft for company here, but it's going to be Thompson that gets through straight away. Problem for Barry Baird. Looks like he pitted at the end of the formation lap. Not too sure what's going on there, but Sutton not wasting any time here. He's getting straight onto the back of Carl Janssen going into the hairpin. One of the main overtaking points on a circuit is on the grass there. It's a Nomad green car of Jason Dilworth.
Yeah, getting past Christian Rose, I believe. Good start for Dilworth, up 2 positions already. Blackhall down 1 place as Rose going back past her down the inside, taking a very tight line. This could be problematic, but Christian Rose moves back up into 6th position. Always a driver who really excels in the races, always gets the absolute most out of the car, hence his very strong his position in the championship currently, as the drivers just go single file. At least you'd hope they would do around this part of the circuit. So difficult to go side by side through such sweeping corners as these, and certainly is calming down. Nice driving from everyone on that opening lap to not cause too much contact. Sutton keeping up to Janssen impressively, 0.4 of a second, and I'm sure Ash will be absolutely itching to just stay in range, try to keep the pressure on his rival for as long as possible, because if he starts to drop off, then he's going to be in big trouble.
End of the opening lap then, it's Janssen that leads, Sutton second, Thompson third, Dancraft fourth. The top four are all as you were. Then it's Ben Palmer fifth up a place, Christian Rose demoted down to sixth, and everybody else now coming across the line. Ronald Moon's problem, he's off in the gravel. That is turn one. It took me a while to work that one out, he went so far off. This might be what happens. This is Barry Baird that we're looking at here in the Nomad blue car. What's going to take place here then? Oh, it's already occurred before you even got to the corner. Now, is that one of Moon's? Let's have a look. This is the Simmortal car. Maybe a view from high above might shed some light on this. So, Moon's is there, back of your picture in the Simmortal car. Just heading towards us now. He's got a Ford behind him. Oh, he misjudges the braking point there, the Ford. Not too sure which Ford that was. Might have been Hackerson, the guilty party here. Let's quickly have a look at it one more time before we go back to live pictures. Let's go on board here with Hackerson. So the Radicals Online Simmortal car looks at the inside and misjudges that. And the two cars behind that went spinning was all just in sympathy of what's happened. But yeah, drama in the early stages. But look at this though, battle for the lead. Janssen v Sutton, crisscrossing this and that. Sutton up the inside, into the left-hander. The BMW makes the hairpin. And they're going to go at it again for the lead.
Yeah, absolutely, and I wouldn't want to be on the outside of that big BMW through that turn too. Such a wide corner that it's almost impossible to defend. You can see Sutton still trying to stay around the outside. Not quite sure why he hung on to that one for so long, but you can see how aggressive he is being out there. He's got nothing to lose right now, has Ash Sutton, and he's just trying to get up into that top position. Of course, all these 2, 3 and 4 are CQR just throwing Ben Palmer and Christian Rose actually in there in 5th and 6th as well. So if Janssen's certainly got the world against him right now, as you can see Sutton just running a little bit wide. Thompson should wait behind his teammate here. Not really any points in them fighting one another. But yes, Sutton really impressive so far, particularly through those first couple of corners. That seems to be where he makes up the time.
Dancraft, it says on our time screen's privateer, but he has definitely got the same livery Sutton as Thompson uses a bit of the grass going through the first corner. Maybe unsettles him a little bit, because if we now switch to the back of the BMW, he's got a face full of Daniel Kraft here. The top four slowly starting to pull away from the rest of them. Christian Rose didn't do a not too shabby last lap. Purple sector 2, in fact, as look at this battle. We've got Miguel Freitas, Jake Blackhall, 3 wide into the hairpin, contact between the Beamer and the Porsche, which then gets sent into the innocent Dave Baker, who's now lost 2 further places as a result. Andy Shield in the blue CQR Sim Sports Beamer goes through. Simon Underhill Nomad's green car through. Thompson back up the inside, out of control. Ooh. And off goes Shield in the process. Baker with an audacious move up the inside, which managed to somehow work out. He managed to control that just about. And then Andy Shield going off soon after.
Yeah, that was quite incredible. Baker there, awful run of corners. I think lost 4 positions there, just being run off the circuit at turn 4. And it nearly got even worse for him. Here's a change of position. Palmer going ahead of Dilworth. Or was that a defence, sorry? Not quite sure.
It was a Rose getting by Palmer, I think.
Apologies. Apologies.
Yeah, the Porsche 93 through into 5th place, with Palmer now down to P6. If anything, that's actually back where they started, in fact. So then now the top 6 is all right where they started, back with the leaders again. And the front 4, Sutton again up the inside into the hairpin. This time he is able to wash out and block the Ford, but it hasn't killed Janssen's momentum, crucially for the Ford. And he might try and fancy his chances around the outside going into the triple chicane here. Sutton, though, up the inside. It's going to have to take a very skillful driver to get past him. Drives the Kia up, drives a Subaru Levorg in the British Touring Car Championship. And if you've never watched that, it is basically an estate car. In the grand scheme of things, rear-wheel drive. It's BMW rear-wheel drive, and I wonder if his experience from racing in the touring cars is going to come in favour here. He's definitely told us before that racing around the tracks and the British touring cars. Oh, as Thompson makes a small error behind. Sutton has said that the racing on the tracks in the British Touring Car Championship on iRacing has definitely helped his racecraft, and I wonder if racing in the rear-wheel drive Subaru is coming in handy here now as we come out of the final corner to complete lap 5.
Yeah, he's going to be so difficult to overtake that BMW. It's ever such a wide car. And Janssen, it's all about staying close to this part of the circuit. This is kind of one part of the circuit which really matters, because it's really the only overtaking chance down at turn 4. You can see at the moment Janssen quite comfortably staying ahead. Now for Sutton, if he can try to back Janssen up ever so slightly or hold him up slightly, maybe Thompson can get involved, and that would really help the CQR drivers to really confirm this race victory. But of course a long way to go, only about a third into the race. Ben Hackerson, of course, with issues earlier on. Jake Blackhall had a big issue on that last lap. He's just behind Hackerson right now, probably going to be making up some places. I think it was just a spin, but he was running as high as, he started this race in 7th place.
Let's actually have a look at replay to see what happened there to Jake Blackhall. This all unfolded while we were looking at the battle between Sutton and Janssen for the lead. Comes through the right-hander here. Oh dear, loses the rear on the exit. Now that's something you don't see every day. Fortunately does just about a reasonable job of a 3-point turn. Not too sure the driving instructor would pass him on that one, but fortunately not too much damage, and the Porsche's got going again. However, his position in the race has been damaged quite a bit. He's down to 26th place as he now watches the battle between Tom Jacobs and Ben Hackerson. Hackerson going around the outside here at the final corner. It's Radicals Online Simmortal versus Team Lizard. Make that those two versus CQR Tarkov here as we go down the front straight. Blackwell might be able to get the job done on both of them here. They emerge from the bottom of the hill, and it's Hackerson that comes out on top, and Blackwell going for an incredibly wide line so he can get the best possible exit. The Porsches are preparing to mug the Ford here as we go down the back straight.
Yeah, that air damage for Hackerson really leaving him a sitting duck down into turn 4. There you go. Hackerson doing well to the pen. Blackwell just trying to gain 2 positions here if he possibly can. He's got the inside line, but that's going to turn into the outside at the next corner. Maybe can go for the little dummy here, but it's such an ambitious move down into 5, 6 and 7. I think that's what they call them. Very odd corner names. Anyone who's seen the Facebook, the Apex Racing TV Facebook page recently will know our hatred of American corner numbers. And well, this circuit does not help their cause whatsoever, because there's several 11As and Bs and Cs and whatnot. Absolute chaos, but it's not stopping Ash Sutton currently half a second ahead of Carl Janssen. He's relieving that pressure at the moment. Gap just being at half a second, you know, normally extremely small, but just leaves Janssen out of that range where he can really go for an overtake.
Here is another Ben. This race is really quickly turning into the battle of the Bens here, because we were looking at Ben Palmer earlier, we were looking at Hackerson just a moment ago. Now we're looking at Ben Gregory, who's got Rusty Laidler behind, who's currently the second of the AMs, and in front of him he's got Daniel McCauley in the CQR Sim Sports car as he drags the left front brake going into the into the hairpin. At the front of this train it's Matt Bunn in the CQR GT BMW. He's got a couple of attempts in hand really. But as they go into the triple chicane again, just you wait, and if we raced at Sonoma, Sam, you'd be you'd be awaking from your sleep with nightmares, I think, because the corner naming system there is almost as bizarre as Road America. Not too sure on Road Atlanta, which is where we go to next week, but we'll have a rant about that next time. Crash on the circuit. Mark Woodhouse is off, and that is after the chicane. Paul Gosling and Barry Baird may also be involved in this. Let's have a look. Got a Ferrari there with number 40. That's Paul Gosling. Gosling goes up the inside. No quarter given. And two cars going for the same bit of track. And Barry Baird in all this. Where does he come into it? There he is. Trying to get through it all. Looks like he hasn't picked up any damage after all that. But looks like neither anybody's picked up any damage. So been able to get going again, but a bit of a crash there down at the triple chicane.
Yeah, I was just watching it back, and maybe avoidable from either driver there, but seemingly getting back on their way. Okay, here comes McFarlane, then trying to get past Michael Hall. Absolute CQR dominance. We saw this at Watkins Glen earlier on in the season, where I think they occupied something like the first or 6 of the first 7 positions. And whilst that dominance kind of ebbed away in the mid part of the season, with Core Sim Racing in particular looking very strong, they've certainly reasserted their dominance near the end of this season. And Ross McFarlane trying to put an end to that currently, but he's now under pressure from Miguel Freitas now. He's been a much improved driver throughout the season. Also, Sumner Underhill, currently the top of the AM drivers, should give him a little bit of attention, because he's in the hunt for the championship. A few points behind Baker. A few points behind Michael Blake currently in the championship. So it's important to keep an eye on Simon to see if he can maybe cut that little deficit.
Of course, you mentioned we're near the end of the season, and that's because we are. After this, we've only got 2 race meetings, Road Atlanta and Spa. As a little look up the inside there by Ross McFarlane on Michael Hall. BMW starting to come under some threat here. The 10 years of CQR car already having to defend the inside line going into the triple chicane. Riding on board here with Freitas. Very nearly bunches up there. You heard the revs drop on the BMW as he had to push the brakes a little bit more than he was intending to. And Freitas, best seat in the house here as he continues to pursue a spot in the upper regions of the top 10. And this is one of the closest battles we've got on the circuit at the moment. Going into the final sector, this corner so difficult to get right. The car goes very light on you over the top, back down the hill again, and then through this never-ending right-hander into the penultimate turn. There it is. Everybody closes up under braking. It should also be mentioned that Baker, the Underhill, isn't too far behind as we come across the line.
Yeah, and Baker as well. If Baker can get the move done on Underhill, then you feel as though he could be kind of set loose on these tracks. Remember, Baker lost out earlier on, didn't he, due to kind of being pushed out at turn 4. So he is arguably the fastest out of these drivers. So going defensive once again. Freitas trying to get past McFarlane. Almost contact. There is contact between the two of them, I think. And Freitas will go through there down the inside of Michael Hall. But Hall now alongside him. And really close racing amongst those drivers.
So close here at the front as well. I wonder if we might be getting it might be getting a bit closer towards the end of the race as we check back in again on this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quintet. of cars. Starts off with Michael Hall, then Freitas, then Underhill, Baker, Bunn also potentially in there too. In terms of the Pro-Am fight, here he is, Simon Underhill that's leading the way. The Nomad green car is 29 points behind Michael Blake in the Pro-Am Championship, and if you can see, Michael Blake is currently in 4th place in the Pro-Am standing, so some useful points to be gained back there by the Nomad green car if he can stay in this position. He's got Dave Baker for company here, who is trying to get some of these positions back after a moment earlier on where he got pretty much forced out of the way by 2 Porsches that flew up the inside. He's currently in P12, right where he started. He'll be trying to get into the top 10 by the end of this as we approach the final 5 minutes of the opening race. BMW all sorts of out of control there. That's the CQR, 10 years of CQR BMW going wide, and the Team Mad Beamer of Miguel Freitas shooting up the inside on the exit. Can the BMW of Hall get back up the inside into the triple chicane? No, he can't. Simon Underhill still defending resolutely from Dave Baker here. It's Michael Blake. Potential drama in the Pro-Am Championship has crashed. Let's see what happens here. The Simmortal car trying to get past one of the Porsches. Into the right-hander we go. Oh! Now, it's almost impossible to tell from that angle whether there was contact or not. Let's see if there was from the helicopter here. Oh, if there was, it was minimal. I don't know whether Sam was going to be able to have a look at that on the replay so he can confer with me on that. But that was remarkably close. It was either as a result of Blake being on the outside or just the slightest touch between the two going into the hairpin. But nonetheless, it's all academic now. Michael Blake is down to 32nd place after all that. His only hope is hoping some sort of reverse grid may help his fortunes, as Ben Hackerson is off in the wall on the exit of the final corner. This is interesting, and the car's heavily damaged too. Let's see what happened here. Oh no, he's flipped over by a Ferrari. Skates along the front straight, tumbling, turning, rolling. Is he going to get collected by somebody else? He's trying everything to turn it around. I think he was just trying to get off the circuit, to be honest. And he's had to jump back to the pits. Race over for Ben Hackerson. Not the ideal start to the evening for him. That Ford is absolutely wrecked.
Yeah, it's going to be... Well, if you have a bad race in this race 1, then it's so difficult to come back for the other 2 because it's unlikely that you're going to be able to get within about 25th position, which is what you need to get within the reverse grid normally for race 3, and then you just start in race 2 and race 3 from the back of the grid. So really important this race 1, and that's not the start to the day that Ben Hackerson wanted. This battle is still going on, so Bunn must have made a mistake then, because he was right on the rear of Underhill, wasn't he? And now he's fallen into the clutches of Macaulay. He's gone round and in to Rusty Laidler there. So contact for the pair of them.
Dear me, that was the Porsche just gradually losing it even more, and then finally losing it entirely. And around she went. Hello to Diogo Melro on the YouTube chat. I completely forgot that we were talking about the interviews had to do with the Portuguese players. I spoke with an interpreter who did very well, and I did feel a bit useless. My Portuguese was definitely not up to scratch, but yeah, they went well. I'll say I'll say that to Diogo Melro on the YouTube chat. The interviews with the Portuguese Manchester United players on Friday. Looking here at Ben Palmer then, he's got Jason Dilworth behind him. You wouldn't see him, there he is. The Nomad green car doing pretty well with just over 90 seconds to go here. And we haven't got too many more laps. It's one of the shortest circuits of the year here. Just 1 minute 17 getting done during the race. And when we get to the line, we're not going to have too many more laps to go. But field's starting to spread out a little bit. Here's another scrap, and it's one driver that's trying to fight their way back through the field. It's Andy Scheel, who caused a big wreck at this circuit a couple of seasons ago, in fact, right on this very front straight when we were getting the green flag. Caused a lot of chaos in the aftermath because I got trigger happy and brought out the safety car before everybody had passed the pit lane, and resulted in the majority of the field getting put a lap down. but we were able to sort that one out, fortunately. Shield, that's the least of his worries. Now he's trying to get past the Yorkshireman Paul Smith, who is looking up the insides here of the Yorkshireman. Shield, the CQR Sim Sports car, duking it out with Paul Smith for small time racing. Smith, a Pro-Am contender as well, let's not forget, and Jake Blackhall, who had a spin earlier, trying to get some of these positions back. Potentially crucial positions too, Sam, because this is right where the reverse grid's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the smallest reverse grid we can have is something like 14, and it goes up to 23, I believe. So, yeah, really important these positions to absolutely convert. And remember, Andy, of course, had a spin earlier on. So he's a quick driver, should really be in the top 10 or so right now. So if he can get within that reverse grid, he will be looking very strong. Of course, Paul Smith would also love to be near the front as well. But Shield now driving away. Can he catch up to Ben Gregory by the end of this one? He's only got one lap to go, but he is considerably faster, so I wouldn't absolutely count him out. And Smith, in fact, dropping back into the clutches of the drivers behind. Here is Hall, and to go defensive against Baker. Is there any room on the inside whatsoever? What he's opening up the line here is Hall, and down the inside will go Baker, but Hall just about cuts him off in the end. Good driving from the pair of them in the end to not cause a collision. And it looks as though, seeing that there's no real opportunities to overtake from now to the end of the lap, all should be able to hang on.
Meanwhile, Sutton definitely able to hang on. He won at the weekend in real life. Very different circumstances to this. It's a lot drier here too. But he wins here at Barber, the opening race of the day in the World GT Championship. Carl Janssen second. Josh Thompson completes the podium. Where's our Pro-Am contenders? Where are our Pro-Am leaders? It's Simon Underhill going through the final corner with Michael Blake set to finish in, in 10th place in the Pro-Am category. This is going to be a very decent haul of points for Simon Underhill in his fight with the Simmortal driver in terms of the Pro-Am Championship. So we're looking forward to seeing how that all unfolds. A great result for him. He finishes 14th place overall. Paul Smith, here he comes through the final corner. Got passed by Blackhall as well on that final lap. So he's going to finish in P21. Still 5 places gained though. And in with a shout of the reverse grid. So we do get as big as Sam was mentioning, 23. Paul Smith could be just on the second row of the grid there, behind Gray and Danes. That's what the reverse grid can do. It can really set the tone for your race meeting. As I hope you're not choking there.
Apologies. Ever so slightly ill, but
you wouldn't know. I'm joking.
Clearing my throat.
Oh, dear me. It's a good thing this you can't transmit it over the airwaves here. Lars Van Ryn has finished in 27th place there. He's on his way back to the pits, and Ash Sutton, he's already decided to go back to the pits, and I think most people have too. But a good drive by Ash. We wouldn't expect anything less, Sam. And he practiced the manoeuvre to get the lead first up the inside in the early stages of the race, and was passed quite soon after by Janssen. He tried it again, and he made no mistakes after that, and was able to control the race from there.
Yeah, absolutely. It was rare to see Janssen kind of just overwhelmed by the pace of another driver. Sutton was just, the faster driver in the end, and that move with the positioning they managed to get his car into was pretty easy down into turn 4 in the end. It was a bit of an inevitable move, made it quite early on in the race, and then once he got that, he was very dominant. So it will be fascinating to see how those guys can do in races 2 and 3 as well, because Janssen really just needs to avoid any big collisions in order to just accumulate those points. After that result, of course, extends his championship lead even further. So it will be good to see those guys making their way through, and we'll have to wait to see how big the reverse grid is, see who's on the front row of the grid.
That's to come. But first, we've got to run you through the finishing order. Josh Thompson saying he can't stand his BMW in the YouTube chat. But hey Sam, at least we've got hey Josh, at least we've got your new livery. Sutton wins. Janssen second. Josh Thompson, we just mentioned him, finished in third. Dan Kraft finishing in fourth, with Christian Rose finishing in fifth, and sixth Ben Palmer. As far as I can tell, the top 6 finishing right where they started. Jason Dilworth finishing P7, then Ross McFarlane, Michael Hall and Dave Baker completing the top 10. And if you look from 9th on back, a very close trio there, Hall, Baker and Freitas in 11th. And then Simon Underhill winning the Pro-Am category in a bit of no man's land really, but still a hugely important and hugely decent haul of points. Matt Bunn 13th, Rusty Laidler second Pro-Am in 14th, then Daniel McCauley 15th, then Chris Wood, Adam Hedgecock there in 17th place with Ben Gregory in P18. Moving on further back, 19th Andy Shiel, recovering after that spin at the chicane in the early stages. Jake Blackwell doing the same, except his spin was on the exit of turn 1. Paul Smith just outside the top 20 in the end, but crucially for the Yorkshireman, in with a spot at the reverse grid. It's 22, the maximum. So if we do get 22, which is a 1 in 2 chance of happening, it'll be Mike Gray on the pole. He finishes there in 22nd. Chris Danes in 23rd, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Pro-Ams. Tom Jacobs, Woodhouse, Rowe, Van Ryn, Michael Blake, Gosling, Lee Deemer, John Roberts, and then 2 laps down David White. Ben Hackerson losing it on the exit of the final corner, clattered into by Ferrari, getting sent up into the air and over, and then off into the wall. 2 laps down. Not the best start to the Radicals Online Sim Sports driver. I guess I think that's how the team is written. Simmortal, yeah. Simmortal. Dion Phillips, 4 laps down in 34th. Then Barry Baird, 35th. And Ronald Moons in 36th. And then at the back, Stu McFadden and Robert Lundgren, who both of which I don't think started. So that's the story of their race. But now it's time for the reverse grid pole. Let's get the wheel up and find out who's going to be on pole for the second race of the day here. Let's make sure we get the right wheel first of all. Here we go. It's going to appear. There it is. And let's spin it. Now, Paul Smith's not going to be happy with this one. It's just gone by 22. The drivers that finished at the front are going to be very happy with this one because it's the smallest possible one we could have got. And it's 14th. 14 cars are going to be reversed for the second race of the day. And if we get the results up on the screen for you, that is going to be who, Sam?
Rusty Laidler will be on pole position alongside Matt Bunn. So if Simon Underhill already had a fantastic result in race 1 with that, finishing top of the AM drivers, well, he's going to be included in that reverse grid. So potentially a big haul of points for him today. Also Rusty Laidler as well. And yeah, should be a good one. Maybe a couple of drivers out of position, but on the most part, it's the fast drivers near the back. And from that reverse grid, quite a small one, they do have a chance at getting themselves up to the front by the end of the race. So it'll be a fantastic race too, I'm sure.
It just shows you how defining a reverse grid could be, really. Paul Smith and Mike Gray, they could have been starting on the front row for this. Now they're starting in P21 and 22 for race 2 here in the World GT Championship. Well, we're going to take a quick break here on the iRacing Esports Network, but we'll be back in a couple of minutes and getting set for race 2 around the Barber Motorsports Park here in Leeds, United States. We'll see you in a bit.
Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail. Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail. Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail. Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail. Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail.
We're back here at Barber, getting set for the second race of the day here in the World GT Championship here on the iRacing Esports Network. After today, we've only got 2 race meetings to go. Excuse me. We start at Red Atlanta next week for the penultimate race meeting in the season and end it at Spa. I wonder if the organisers might throw a spanner in the works there and put it under the lights for the last race of the season. That would be truly interesting, and may throw a few surprises as well. Championship standings, they haven't been updated during the break. I was just going to see if they had, so we could bring you an update on the battle between Blake and Underhill in the Pro-Am category, because that is definitely one to watch at the moment. But I can tell you that we haven't had them updated yet, and we'll find out about that soon. But as the cars start to get underway on their formation lap, I can bring back in Sam Fitzpatrick quickly, and Sam, good first race. Something that we pretty much expected. All the cars were running pretty close together, but there wasn't obviously too much in the way of overtaking. I wonder if we'll see something different here in race 2, because obviously the quicker cars are going to be starting in the midfield.
Yeah, absolutely, but crucially they're not starting too far back. You've got the race winner of race 1, Ash Sutton, starting in 14th position, so very much possible for those drivers to get themselves up to the front, and we did see decent amount of overtaking down into this turn 4. That's really going to be the main overtaking spot. I expect those drivers to kind of just be getting one move per lap, every lap down into that corner, and just making their way up through the field one by one. But if one of these front runners can make a break at the front, they could well be on for one of their first victories of the season.
Running you through the grid then, cheers Sam. It's obviously Rusty Laidler on the pole position, Pro-Am pole as well, Matt Bunn in second, then another Pro-Am in third in Simon Underhill, then it's Miguel Freitas, Dave Baker, Michael Hall, Ross McFarlane, Jason Dilworth, Ben Palmer and Christian Rose. Chris Daines, incidentally, started from the pit lane for this one, and as we move on further back you can see the winners of race 1, Sutton starting in P14, Janssen there in P13, and Josh Thompson, the final driver on the podium, starting in 12th. And moving on even further back, Adam Hedgecock there 17th place, Andy Shield 19th, and Blackhall in 20th. 2 cars that had issues during the opening race. Paul Smith there in 21st, finished there where he could have potentially ended up on the pole, but due to the small nature of the reverse grid, it didn't go that way for him. And there's going to be 35 cars getting set to get ready for the second race here at the World GT Championship at Barber. Cars coming through the final corner, then getting set for race 2, round 23 of the World GT Championship here at Barber Motorsports Park. Rusty Laidler's going to lead them to the green lights, and he's already quite a few car lengths ahead as we get racing here. at Barber Motorsports Park. Let's see if everybody can get through the first corner safely. We were able to do so in race 1. Laidler going pretty early before the lights changed, Sam, will probably help that. If he'd bunched everybody up before the lights changed, then it would have been much more congested into the first corner. But you can see here, Josh Thompson and Ash Sutton already going straight into battle.
Yeah, absolutely. Great start for Sutton, up 2 positions already, crucially past Thompson.
Oh,
and a couple of other drivers, Michael Hall, who had a slightly disappointing race 1, I think, maybe dropping a few places near the end of the race, but now he started very high up in this one, but he's already been a spinner out there, as we see side by side. Janssen moving ahead of Palmer there, so trying to keep tabs with Sutton, who's crucially got quite a few of his teammates in front of him to overtake, so that could be useful for him. But you can see this entire strand of cars, Rusty Leyland doing a good job, should lead across the line at least. I'm not sure if he's going to lead for much longer than that though.
On board with the current race leader, Dave Baker, just getting past in the very back of that shot there by one of the Nomad green cars. That was Jason Dilworth through the final corner. Then it's going to be Laidler that gets the first lap led. Ross McFarlane and Dan Kraft also very close in the background too as they come out of the final corner. Oh, spin, it's Janssen. Carl Janssen, the championship leader, has gone for a spin and fortunately hasn't hit anything or anybody. Oh, he's just backing into the wall, which is going to not help the rear of the car. And drama, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. We just haven't seen a setback for Janssen for so many weeks now. It's just been absolutely impeccable. I wouldn't be surprised if this is actually a self-spin potentially from him. Let's see how it went. So he's taking a normal racing line here. Maybe closing up a little bit. Yeah, he's just been put off perhaps by the CQR driver just ahead, having a small moment, getting onto the grass and spinning the car around. The track temperature up there is 40 degrees Celsius, so super hot. Plenty of understeer, you can imagine, around this circuit, and that's what cost Janssen.
Oh dear, this is why we're looking at a replay. Oh dear, what a dreadful moment that was for 10 years of CQR. What an awful corner it's been. First of all, Michael Hall spins out on the opening lap, then Ash Sutton and Ross McFarlane come together, and the flying Ferrari gets sent into the side of the other one. Was that Michael Hall again? Dear me, what a nightmare start for 10 years of CQR. It's going to take a bit of a while for that to sort each other out. We've got more wrecking. It's Jake Blackhall, the Aussie, Michael Blake. This race meeting is just not going his way at all, is it? Jake Blackhall's car is heavily destroyed. He's going to have to go back to the pits. Fortunately for him, he will get a fast repair. Ross McFarlane also coming into the pits too. We seem to be living in replays at the moment, but let's see if we can dissect what happened here to cause all this. This might be a bit too late to work out what happened, but we'll find out anyway. There's a car going. Oh dear, Michael Blake already gone. Jake Blackhall, doesn't expect him to. Jake Blackhall may already have issues at this point. Michael Blake goes off the circuit. I don't think Blackhall even knew he was coming. And then a few innocent Ferraris getting involved too. What drama then in the midfield. Here it is back at the front. And Laidler doing a very decent job here. We've got more cars wrecking. It's a wreck fest here. It's a Barber here in race 2. Dave Baker this time, one of the cars around. So too Dion Phillips. This was where Baker was involved in a bit of argy-bargy with Andy Shield earlier. I think we have been trying to stop going to replays, but I think we're going to have to here. This is Dion Phillips then, in the Excite Ferrari, the blue and white one, going into the chicane. Oh, collides with another Simmortal car. I don't think that was Michael Blake. Might have been somebody else, but here we go. Is he going to just collect David Baker on the exit here? Doesn't look like it. It looks like Baker actually may have just spun completely isolated to all of that, so that's what's happened there. Right, back to live, and let's hope we stay there for quite a while. This is a decent battle too. This is Jason Dilworth versus Christian Rose. Christian, who's trying to get some points back in the championship. He's currently sitting in second, and with the news of Carl Janssen's relative demise, he'll be hoping to get some points on the board here, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. It could be a good race for CQ1 with Janssen probably going to start the third race of the evening outside the top 20. A real opportunity this for Christian here. Of course, it's just such a consistent points finisher. Underhill versus Sutton, very close. Where can Sutton potentially go for a move. I think Sutton has just moved ahead in back of Simon Underhill, and that's a nice move from Sutton then. So the pro winner of race 1 and the AM winner of race 1 go side by side, and Underhill could still be a fantastic round for him. This meeting could really mix up the championship with the 2 championship leaders having issues, and it's really given these other drivers a very good chance. But Underhill now under big pressure from the likes of Palmer, Dilworth, Rose, and plenty of others will get involved as well, I'm sure, by the end of this 20 minutes.
Up down Carl Janssen, he's in P24. Of course, also in this championship, it's also worth mentioning that there is a drop points system. Look at this, here we go, here comes the CQR GT trying to get past the Nomad Green into the hairpin. Shows Ash Sutton and Ross McFarlane how it should be done. And through goes Palmer into P5, Underhill demoted to P6 with his teammate Jason Dilworth right behind him. Josh Thompson, he's a bit of a way back. He is in P10. That's because when Hall spun on the opening lap, Thompson had to go off the circuit at the hairpin and take evasive action. He's still inside the top 10, even though he doesn't like the car. But he's doing okay. Here is the 2 Nomad cars, though, 2 different manufacturers, and that is a clear sign there of teammates trying their best to coordinate an overtake. That hasn't really worked too well, because now here comes Christian Rose onto the pair of them here going into the final corner. Surely not. I was going to say, if there's grip out there, there's something that nobody's ever done before, and Christian Rose has to slot back in behind. But look at this. This is an epic duel here. Thompson, Macaulay, Gregory, Wood and Dan Craft all with a blanket thrown over them, and this is a fantastic scrap going on for sideways and Macaulay. That's not the first time we've seen that, Sam. We saw that happen to it was either Macaulay or one of his teammates earlier in race 1.
Yeah, I think it may be Shield who had that issue we saw earlier on, and yeah, Macaulay having a problem. Days under pressure, potentially from the boosted driver. Here is Gregory and Wood then. And Wood just having to stay behind, but odds for McCoy to have that spin like he did, because around that turn 2, you're really loading the front tyres a lot. It's very much a front limited circuit, this, and so for the rear end to go round, very unusual, clearly struggling with the setup of that car, or the balance of that car. So around this very hot track, of course, now 39 degrees Celsius, so not easy for these drivers whatsoever. Is cooling down ever so slightly, so they will have a bit more grip by the end of this race, but still certainly not a fantastic situation for them to be in. So we just round out lap 6 of this race. It's still Rusty Laidler 1.2 seconds ahead of Matt Bunn, and just maintaining that gap at the moment between the two of them. Freitas really close up to the back of Bunn, but failing to make an overtake. Sutton on that last lap had a very poor lap time, clearly had a mistake in sector 3. There are 4 sectors around this circuit, so made a mistake in sector 3, lost 1 second, and that's just stopped his charge here, because I believe Freitas is his teammate. And then, of course, Bunn and Laidler could be difficult to overtake. Well, they're all teammates, actually, to be fair. The top 5 cars are all CQR.
I think Freitas might be team mad. They are very difficult.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. There's two very similar livery cars. It's like the paint schemes that we've all fallen upon in the BSRTC, isn't it? We've got teams in most of the teams in yellow or orange. We noticed after the opening race meeting there. But yeah, team mad. Also yellow, along with 10 years of CQR. Paul Smith, he's not going to like me for showing him here, but he's off at the exit of the triple chicane, that looks like. Or is it one of the exit of the S's? It is the exit of the triple chicane. So what happened to cause this development here for poor Paul? Let's see what happened here. He's got a Simmortal Racing teammate in his midst. He's also got Ben Hackerson there in the number 8 Radicals Online car. Up the inside goes Paul, or maybe... Oh, and then spun again. Oh, dear. And into the Anchor barrier as well. Interested to see what Paul thinks of that if he joins us for an interview later. But, yeah, not too sure who to apportion blame with on that one. Maybe you can let us know in the YouTube chat. Look at this. 3 wide for second, and it looks like Sutton's going to get both Freitas and Bunn, unless Bunn is going to throw it up the inside, but surely he won't do that to his teammates. He will do it to Freitas, though. And Bun trying to hold on to what's left. He's trying to keep his spot on the podium, but it's going to be Freitas that gets it done. Through he goes. And just as we look away for 1 second, Sam, it's Ash Sutton that's now into second spot, and now he's given the responsibility of hunting down his CQR colleague, Rusty Laidler, who's 1.6 seconds away.
Yeah, he's got half the race to do it, so this should be quite simple for Ash Sutton. I did say at the top of the broadcast how we're not going to see a driver winning multiple races today, but he's going to prove me wrong, I believe, because, well, Laidler has put in a great performance, but I doubt he's going to be able to put up much of a fight, and this happened. Apologies, I can't see it, so you have to talk to this one, Adam.
Yeah, it's Bun running wide. Freitas almost goes off with him, and then Sutton goes, "Thank you very much, guys. I'll go through and get both of you." So that's how it unfolded there. And we're back to live pictures again. And now Freitas is he's getting mobbed by 2 CQR GTs. Bun very overexcited going in there. Car looked like it was doing things that it shouldn't design to be. And that's now going to allow Ben Palmer in the number 1 CQR GT to take another spot away from Matt. So within about a lap and a half, he's gone from P2 down to P5. Not the best lap for him. Wonder how far away the 2 CQR race-up cars are. And the answer is not too far away. You can just see Christian Rose in the background of the shots. He's trying to gain as many points as he can due to Carl Jansen's spin earlier. I've got bad news for Christian. Carl's up to 18th place. Josh Thompson has crashed.
Oof.
And he's crashed with a Nomad car. And
Simon Underhill.
Oh no! Oh dear. Yeah, the Pro-Am winner from race 1. Let's have a look at how this all unfolded then. They're going through the chicane. Oh, looks like Thompson lost it on the entry on the inside curb. And just going to check that one more time for verification. So running on board here. That's very weird. And that's just going to really add fuel to the fire of Josh Thompson's hatred for this BMW. Fortunately for him, him and the Ford getting interconnected means that it hasn't given him too much damage. But that's not going to help him at all. And it's not going to help Underhill either, because even though you do get a fast repair in this series, they've both had to come to the pits. And one of the shortest laps on the calendar, it does mean that you could be vulnerable of maybe getting laps in the closing stages. But here's a decent scrap between Daniel Craft and Ben Gregory here over 7th, 8th and 9th, with Chris Wood trying to obtain the honour, maintain the honour, obtain the offer. Scrap that. Chris Wood is in 9th place, obtain the honour, I should say, for small time racing, as he traces down the 10 years of CQR car driven by Dan Craft.
Yeah, some drivers out there, a bit like Gregory up 11 positions, Hackerson up 22, Phillips up 15, drivers who, of course, no offence to them whatsoever, but, you know, I wouldn't say they're necessarily the fastest out there today at Barber. I don't think this is necessarily a specialist circuit for them, but just benefiting from the chaos that we've seen amongst all the other drivers. So many top drivers as well getting involved in those collisions. Here is Phillips, and he's now up 16 positions. He gets past Lars Van Rijn, so that's Excite Audio SRD versus Boosted with Savage Gaming. And that's a nice move there. But here comes Jansen then. So after that awful start, he's up into 12th position now. Quite incredible for Carl Jansen. He's definitely going to be involved in that reverse grid. So what an incredible comeback this is for the Corso Racing driver.
Indeed, yeah, up to 12th now. 1 place gained from where he started. He's definitely overtaken a lot more cars than you would believe. Yeah, Josh Thompson not too happy. Oh yeah, Josh Thompson very not happy on that one from the YouTube chat. Don't know if we'll see him for race 3. Hope we do, Josh. Please stay. We've got just over 5 minutes to go here, and Rusty Laidler is starting to get the pressure applied to him by Ash Sutton here. The gap is just 0.3 of a second. Last time around, Sutton was 0.6, was half a second quicker than the CQR Tarkov car. What's Laidler going to do here then? This is going to be interesting. These are 2 drivers that are very well known for being elbows out racers, But on this occasion, the BMW gets a bit squirrely on the exit. Don't often see that, especially from the Z4, the previous GT3 model, previous GT model, I should say, that we saw from BMW here on iRacing. Of course, that was GT3. This is GTE, the cars that are driven in the World Endurance Championship and the IMSA Sports Car Series, and driven at the Le Mans 24 Hours as well. Hopefully get to see them in the flesh this year at the WEC at Silverstone. Also, should also mention that there was some 24-hour go-karting. There was a 24-hour go-kart race going on this weekend at Sutton. It would have to be a pretty remarkable move to get it done up the inside of Rusty Laidler going into the penultimate corner there. As we come through the final corner, Laidler, he's maybe not giving Sutton the easy ride here, because Sutton is now having to search for different lines and maybe try and find his own way past Rusty Laidler. It's a driver he will know well, though.
Yeah, absolutely. At the moment, Laidler's really strong through that turn 2, but is he strong enough this time? Is Sutton within reach? He's going to look to the inside, but, well, doesn't quite go for it. And as long as you get a good exit out of that one, it's pretty much impossible for Sutton to get past. So, nice driving so far for Rusty Laidler. Yeah, 4 minutes to go. It's possible he could hold on to this one for B, I believe, his first race win of the season. So, yeah, extremely close between these two. Freitas struggling to make too much of an impression behind. He's coming under pressure from Palmer currently, so it could be a CQR 1, 2, 3. Sutton giving it its absolute all. There's surely no opportunity to go for the move here, but you can see Laidler just offline every single corner. Sutton will go for the inside line here, gain the cutback, contact between the two of them, and Laidler into the wall. Awful to see the AM driver have a issue like that. And well, after that great defensive work, it's come to a boil in the end.
Well, that's not how we expected it to end or wanted it to end. Laidler has got going again in P7. He's hit the Armco barrier. Not too sure if it's given him an off-track at all. One thing I can tell you is that there's been a crash somewhere on the circuit involving John Roberts, Ross McFarlane and Andy Shield. So let's have a look quickly at how these two crashes transpired then. Here is John Roberts. He is about to meet an end here, somewhere. How's Ross McFarlane going to get involved in all this? Oh, he loses it onto braking, spins, and are we expecting to see a whole lot of cars arrive on the scene? Oh, I was expecting so. Maybe that happens a bit further along. Not too sure. Here it is again. This is on a different part of the circuit, actually. So the two crashes unfolded pretty much at the same time on different parts of the circuit. That's what happened to Shield and McFarlane. As for Laidler, here it is again. So through the first part of the chicane, everything going fine here. Sutton, we were on board with him at this moment in time, sets him up like a kipper here through the first part. Laidler misses the first apex, tries his best. Sutton up the inside. Hard to tell from, because we switched camera angles. I'm just going to see if we can go from this one again, maybe. I don't think Sutton touches him. I think it's just Laidler losing control on the exit. So that's what's happened to Laidler, Sam.
Yeah, certainly certainly a racing incident if there was any contact whatsoever. And Laidler, I think, will still be top amateur driver, actually. So he'll still do very well there. And, well, that's the least he deserves. But it's very disappointing that he's not going to be on the podium. So Freitas still holding on against Palmer. It's not going to be a CQ1 1, 2, 3. It looks like, although it is still possible with Christian Rose not too far behind. As off goes Sutton. Quite incredible. And Miguel Freitas is in the lead now. Sutton with a complete unforced error and completely changes this complexion.
Wow.
Oh, Palmer's just taken the lead, sorry.
Oh, this is all kicking off here. Need a better TV director. Into the right-hander. It's Ben Palmer that leads. Freitas second. Just when it looked like this, the win was gone. It's definitely gone for 10 years to CQR, that's for sure. But it's a lead for CQR GT. And a spin for Ash Sutton, who's now dropped down to 5th place with just 30 seconds to go. We should get one more lap in here. Let's have a look at what happened then to Core Sutton. No one near him. On the brakes, is he on the grass? I think he was on the grass, and I think he's lost control. So these camera angles aren't helping. Let's try here. This might be good. Oh, slightest touch on the grass. And he sees his lead. vanish off into the distance, and I think Freitas may have even just got caught out by the spun Sutton there. Sam, on the replay.
Yeah, must have done, because he seemed to have a decent lead going into that corner, but then not out of it crucially. And yeah, that's it for Miguel Freitas. He's going to be able to come back at this point, just dropping about half a second behind, just ahead of Christian Rose. It's going to be a good race for Rose. Where is, well, in the end, Janssen just out of range of these guys. I was thinking he might even get a top 5 out of this. He is in 10th position, currently the championship leader. But what an event this second race has been. It feels like it's been about 10 different races all in one, from absolute chaos near the starts, and then it kind of calming down a little bit in the middle, and then this real plot twist near the end. And well, it looks as though it's going to be Ben Palmer to take a surprising victory.
DDA started 8 positions lower than where he is now. But that's not going to matter, as Freitas support going to have a little late lunge there. Through the final corner we go then. Race 2 of the day in the World GT Championship goes the way, remarkably, of Ben Palmer. He wins. Miguel Freitas second, Christian Rose third. Rusty Laidler, it might not be the win, but it's still top am, 8th place. And a top 10 finish for Laidler. They don't come along too often. In fact, if our stats are correct, it's only his second top 10 of the season to date. Carl Janssen, P10, after being pretty much last at the end of the opening lap. He might be able to take that. Meanwhile, Paul Smith, he's 1/10 of a second away from Simon Underhill here. Can the Yorkshireman, who was off in the wall earlier, who's had to come into the pits to get a fast repair, I believe. Is he going to be able to get past Underhill in the closing stages? The answer to that is going to be no. And he's very lucky that Barry Baird in the Nomad Blue doesn't get past him either. Last few cars coming across the line, we're just awaiting Jake Blackhall, who came into the pits earlier to change a car after a wreck in the opening lap. Here he comes across the line, and he's going to get 30th, and that is it. Even though we've had all the wrecks in this run, Sam, it's still the same as race 1. Everybody very, very tightly compacted together. Just a couple of seconds covering the entire field in the end.
Yeah, pretty incredible there. And yeah, one of the closest finish, of course, we're going to see this season. The top 3 drivers, separated by 7/10 of a second, and plenty of great battles out there. It'll be interesting to see what this reverse grid is, because there's some fairly unusual names, I'd say, kind of in that top 20 area, who, if there's a big reverse grid, they're going to really fancy their chances in race 3.
Looking forward to it. Plus, we've got the reverse grid to do for the final race of the evening. Sam's voice is holding out. Hopefully, you can stay with us too for the final race of the day. Let's get the results up on the screen. It's Ben Palmer that wins. Ignore the distances on the right. Miguel Freitas was definitely not a lap behind. He was only a few tenths behind. Christian Rose finishes 3rd. Good podium for Christian Rose, especially with Janssen finishing 10th. It's not the big haul of points that he could have been gaining on him, but he'll take that nonetheless. Matt Bunn 4th, Sutton 5th, when the win was in his grasp, spinning out of the lead with 2 laps to go. Then Ben Gregory 6th, Dan Craft 7th, Rusty Laidler top am. Could have been a podium though, and I don't know if that will play on his mind or not. It's definitely playing on mine. Ben Hackerson 9th, Carl Janssen in 10th in the end for the Swede. Dave Baker 11th, then Chris Wood 12th, Mike Gray could have been on the reverse grid pole if things had gone if the luck had been on his side, but still P13 in the XVR silver car. Danny McCauley in 14th, despite the half spin on the exit of turn 2. Then it's Adam Hedgecock, Mark Woodhouse, Chris Daines, and then Tom Jacobs in the Team Lizard car in P18. Decent haul of Pro-Am drivers as well in the top 18. 19th for Jason Dilworth. Then a quintet of Pro-Ams, Lars van Ryn, the Dutchman, John Roberts, David White, Simon Underhill, and Paul Smith. Barry Baird there in 25th, Ross McFarlane 26th, Andy Shield 27th, P28 for Paul Gosling, Jason Rowe 29th, and Jake Blackhall, the last running car, in 30th. Michael Blake, he'll be hoping that things get better when he heads to Georgia at this rate. Even with Simon Underhill's P23, that's still going to be more points gained on him. And I wonder if the drop scores may be starting to take effect on that too. Dion Phillips out, Josh Thompson done as well. I hope we see him back for race 3. Michael Hall 12 laps down, and Lee Deemer 14 laps down. I don't even know if he actually took the start, Lee, there, but Yeah, he finished in 14 laps down. Michael Hall, of course, he was near the front at the start, but then went off into the gravel at the hairpin in the early going. It wasn't actually something that we got a good look at, actually, so we'll have a look at this again. We've got it early. Let's get that off the screen before we get the reverse grid. I know they're eager to get it. So something that we didn't see a replay of. It wasn't even his own fault. He got spun around there. There's Thompson taking out evasive action. Well done to one of the Simmortal racing cars. Oh, a little clatter by an XBR silver car. I wonder if that might have broken something on the front left. But either way, Michael Hall's race was ruined from that point onwards. Right then, reverse grid time. Final race of the day. Let's spin the wheel and see who's going to be on pole for race 3. Now it was 14 for race 2. It's only going to be slightly bigger this time. It's going to be 16. Who's that going to be on the pole, Sam?
It will be an all-AM front row. It will be Mark Woodhouse and Adam Hedgecock on the pole position. Or not, well, but they both won't be on the pole position. They'll both be on the front row of the grid. Behind them will be Gray and Macaulay. And yeah, Janssen starting up there in 7th position, I believe. Baker in 6th position. So top, well, yeah, and yeah, so plenty of competitive drivers up near the front of the field. Should be a fantastic race 2. Not sure if it'll be as good as race 2, but if it's anything like race 2, then we're in for a treat. Yeah, drama in the opening stages. It settled down in the middle of the race with some decent battles, and then late drama at the end as Ash Sutton got the lead off Laidlow, went off into the wall, then spun out himself, allowing Ben Palmer to take a well-won race for CQR GT. Let's see we'll find out who's going to win race 3 in a moment here on the iRacing Esports Network, as we take a quick break here at Barber Motorsports Park in the World GT Championship. We'll see you in a minute.
Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail. Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail. Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail.
just looking at the BMW, and now you get to see it in action for the final race of the day here on the iRacing Esports Network in the World GT Championship. Adam Bath here with Sam Fitzpatrick with you here. Oh dear me, for the final race of the evening. After this we go to Road Atlanta and we go to Spa to decide the title. The cars were meant to be there they are, quickly disappearing and coming back again. Looking forward to this one though. 16 cars reversed, and as the grid appears on your screen, Sam Fitzpatrick, it's again 3 AMs in the top 4 positions, and Rusty Laidler did pretty well when he was given his opportunity at the front in race 2. It's going to be a good opportunity to see what the likes of Mark Woodhouse, Adam Hedgecock and Mike Gray could potentially do from the front 2 rows of the grid.
Yeah, absolutely. Great opportunity for those drivers. Good opportunity for plenty of the drivers near the front of the field. And also Carl Jensen as well, starting in 7th position. Really difficult to call which way this is going to go. Imagine, well, I was about to say, imagine if Ash Sutton could get a triple, but of course he can't get a triple because, of course, he made quite a fundamental mistake near the end of race 2. He still wouldn't rule him out, so potentially fighting for a race win as well. So really looking forward to this one. Important in the championship in that AM category with issues for Michael Blake today. It gives, you know, Woodhouse and Hedgecock half a chance potentially, and with Laidler making his mistake they did in race 2, you know, these top 2 AM drivers do have a chance at really bridging that gap to the championship leaders. So going to be a big race for them, and well, if they can do what Laidler was able to do in race 2 by building up a big gap in the opening few laps, then well, they're going to have a good chance as Mike Gray goes off the circuit.
He's going for the world's biggest warming up of tyres, I think. Josh Thompson is in the field, thankfully, although we are down from 35 runners to 33. I could hazard a guess at which ones they are. One of them being Robert Lundgren. I don't think he is here at all. No. And the other one being Lee Deemer, who isn't here either. So that makes sense. We've got first, and the remainder of the cars are there. Thompson starting in 32nd. Spotters, Woodhouse and Hedgecock. They are looking like they're following the tactic of really bunching the field up, which is within their rights. Should also mention that one way of checking of who's pro and who's pro-am if you aren't looking at the timing tower is by the windscreen strip top of the car. If it's red, they are pro-am. If it's black, they are pro. Something to watch out for there as we come through the final few corners, getting set for the final race here in the World GT Championship at Barber. Cars coming through the final corner then. Mark Woodhouse gets on the gas straight away. Green lights are in the air, and it's a very disjointed start to the race here at Barber Motorsports Park. Let's hope everybody can get through the first corner cleanly. They have a very good chance of doing so because they've also so bunched apart. Good battle here in the early going. Christian Rose versus Matt Bunn. And Matt Bunn losing out there. Ben Palmer already up one spot. He's got past Miguel Freitas in the Team Mad Car, but now's the tricky spot with the cold tyres over the top of the hill towards the hairpin. Chris Wood up the inside of the XVR car. It's very close at the front as well. Adam Hedgecock running very wide as Daniel McCauley tries to get past him. Let's see if he can get it done. Into the chicane. Neither driver giving an inch. If McCauley makes the second part of the chicane, I'll be very surprised. He jumps over the curb. Could potentially be a slowdown penalty, not too sure. Looks like he got away with it, Sam, but very exuberant driving in the early going, and McCauley's not sitting there. He's desperate to get past Woodhouse now. Absolutely, down the inside he goes into the second chicane. It's going to be a great move if he can put off, and damn McCauley, what a start this is. He's gone from 3rd to 1st in just about half a lap. And, well, he's now going to be the one who builds the gap. So, McCoy, who has made a couple of mistakes so far today, absolutely flying out there. So close behind. We've got the likes of Janssen and Gray, I think, going side by side at the moment. There they are. That's Gray on the inside, Janssen on the outside. I think Janssen should have better straight line speed and should be able to pull ahead. He duly does. And so Janssen now up 2 positions. Baker, the next one to surely get past Mike Gray. As McCauley just had a slight mistake, I believe, down in turn 2, but
still in the race lead. He momentarily lost it to Mark Woodhouse, who's trying to respond down into turn 4. Round the outside goes Adam Hedgecock there in the boosted with Savage Gaming car, and now he's susceptible. So just shows if you run offline in one corner, then you're really vulnerable over the next half a lap or so. Down the inside goes Janssen now, and he goes through. Nice move there from the Ford driver. He's really sidling his way through the field now.
Chris Wood's not going to let him completely have that his own ways. We've got a big crash somewhere on the circuit. Crash. It's all kicked off here. There's a car on its side. That is Chris Daines, David White, Tom Jacobs also involved. That isn't getting flipped over anytime soon. Might need an extra hand there. Mark Woodhouse dropping down the timing screen to 2. Hope that isn't slow down of some sort. Here's what's happened. Miguel Freitas up the inside through the second part of the chicane. Oh dear. No, really, it bunched up before then, but then it really got going once Miguel Freitas got bulked, and then something kicked on from there. We're about to find out what happened to Mark Woodhouse. Oh, he goes off at the second chicane, and that's going to be quite a big slowdown, even though he lost time by doing it. That's the rules of the game, and that is, as a result, being punished accordingly as we go 3 wide down the back straight here.
Yep, not much space there. Oh, and almost into the back. Hackerson there. And in the end, Woods, I don't know if he just went off there out of sorrow for Hackerson's near mistake, as on goes Matt Bunn, so another front-running driver, and he's had a mare down that corner.
We're in the best corner for CQR here, as look at that, as Dan Crafts gets up on 2 wheels, nearly rolls it, gets back going again. Now he's under pressure from Chris Wood. Chris Wood in the Small Time Racing car, teammates with Paul Smith and Mark Woodhouse, who's since fallen by the wayside. Ash Sutton up to 5th place, getting past Mike Gray too. Back with these guys then as they go through the second of the chicanes, over the crest and back down the hill again. It's still Daniel McCauley, but he's got Carl Janssen right behind him. Carl Janssen that did well in race 1, finished 2nd, finished 10th in race 2. He's running 2nd here again in race 3, but this time he hasn't got Ash Sutton to keep him company, at least not yet. He's now just got his eyes firmly focused on the CQR Sim Sports car that is driven by Daniel McCauley here. Let's see what the Ford can do. We haven't got too many Fords in the field here, and up the inside goes Janssen, and McCauley doesn't give him much time to get impatient. Janssen through into the lead, Sam.
Yeah, fantastic drive this from Carl Janssen. We quite often see him having to drive from similar positions in race 1 of races, but he's just been absolutely no resistance up to that first position. Within quarter of the race, he's gone up 6 places into the lead, and very much on course for that race victory, which looked so far away at the start of race 2, and of course he was having those big issues. We didn't think he was going to get within the reverse grid, and with all the chaos that occurred in the end, he was starting in a decent place. So absolutely fantastic day this could turn out to be for Carl Janssen. Dan Kraft now trying to get past Ben Hackerson. He was up something like 25 places in race 2. And just lining up as well, taking a slightly later turn in there for the final corner. Didn't really yield much more pace coming out of the final corner. So Baker goes ahead of Hedgecock, so just ahead you can see them going side by side. And Hedgecock, Baker and Sutton all having quite a ding-dong battle currently for the final spot on the podium. And there they are, contact between Sutton and Hedgecock. Baker will move through. Now Sutton's going to try to go through himself down the inside into turn 4. You can see Mike Gray in the XBR Silver card still doing really well, keeping in touch with these drivers, as Sutton should be able to make this one stick, as yes, he does so into the triple chicane.
Yeah, Sutton had to get on the brakes on the exit of turn 2. He was able to get back on it again and is up to 4th place. If we look at the lap times, Sutton last time around did an 18.0. He's not getting helped by these guys. That's clearly evident. But as things stand, Carl Janssen has a 4.8 second lead, and this is not going to help matters either, as Sutton and Baker, 2 BSRTC veterans from the Thursday night, go into battle here. They're both used to driving Kias. One's in a Beamer, one's in a Porsche. And it's Sutton that comes off the better here, up into P3, up into the podium places. with over a quarter of the race gone. It's looking pretty tasty just behind as well. This is Hackerson getting passed by both Dan Craft and by Chris Wood in the Small Time Racing car. And now he's trying to make sure that he keeps Ben Gregory behind. In fact, Gregory using all sorts of force, perhaps using the force to try and get past Ben Hackerson there, as he seemed to manage to materialise inside Ben Hackerson's boot, which is pretty phenomenal as we get on the brakes. Watch out for 93, that's Christian Rose. Did well in race 2, wants to get some points to try and help stem the gap to Carl Janssen. But as things stand, it looks like that it was an okay result for Janssen in race 2, 10th place. But here, Rose 11th and Janssen leading. It's almost going to be it's almost like roles reversed here as these guys continue their scrap in the midfield.
Yeah, it looks as though he's going to lose yet more points, is Christian Rose, but yeah, he realised that he's doing absolutely everything he possibly can. It's still going to be a decent points haul for him today. Gregory still sitting behind Hackerson, and well, he's only 4 seconds off 3rd position. That's just how close this entire pack of the top 10 are. Super close between Gray and Hedgecock and Kraft, and really all these drivers very evenly matched, I'd say. It's really, you gotta go back to Christian Rose where you see a proper kind of championship runners almost spinning it. There is Hedgecock, and Kraft will put his nose down the inside. Side by side they go up the hill. And I think it was actually Gray just pulling ahead in the end of Kraft, and yeah, moving up into 5th position as Hedgecock having to go yet more defensive against Chris Wood this time.
Yeah, got trigger happy in the midfield there as Adam Hedgecock now tries to get past Chris Wood, or maybe that's the other way around. Chris Wood trying to get past Adam Hedgecock. Either way, the Small Time Racing car is ahead. Dan Craft's 8/10 of a second away, but these three, including maybe even the cars behind, are all firmly embroiled in this scrap for positions inside the top 10. Flashing lights there by Ben Gregory as he chases down his namesake Ben Hackerson over the top of the hill. If we look at where the manufacturers are, I think Gregory is the top Ferrari. No, it's Gray, of course. Mike Gray in the Ferrari, top Ferrari there. On the inside, Ben on Ben here. Now through the final corner, through the left-hander onto the front straight as we approach the halfway point. Gregory's going to have the inside line here, but Hackerson's going to have the racing line. That could prove crucial on the brakes. Oh, almost forced off the circuit. I might even say definitely forced off the circuit there, as Gregory then gives Hackerson a bit more breathing space going through turn 2. This is really remarkable stuff here over the top of the hill. Gregory on the grass, watch out for the Porsche through the middle perhaps of Christian Rose on the brakes. They've been at this now. Oh, right rear to right front, and that's going to allow Christian Rose the opportunity to get through now. Hackerson flashes the lights out, pure frustration, and Gregory, after all of that, is through into P8. Sam, a fantastic duel between those two.
Absolutely, now side by side, maybe a little bit aggressive from Gregory going down into turn 1, but at the same time do that turn 1. It's so difficult for the inside driver not to kind of run out right to the side of the circuit. But yeah, nice driving from the pair of them in the end. So Gregory up into 9th place as we see a spinner, Andy Shield, who's had a problematic meeting already, and he's gone round. That was Ross McFarlane, I believe he made contact with, or maybe Paul Smith. They're all in a bit of a trio themselves, and yeah, in fact it was actually Smith then going side by side through this first chicane, and Shield, oh, well, I don't really know how to call that one. The thing is, if you go side by side into that corner, you're almost looking for that to happen.
Yeah, I think Shield could have maybe done more to get out of that, but then at the same time Paul Smith could have known he was on the inside there. 6 of 1, you could say. We'll see what the stewards say anyway going into the next race. You will notice here there is a reason why we're looking at Ashton, and that's because he's into 2nd place. He's got past Daniel McCauley. He has got 9 minutes to try and close down that 4.5 second gap that is between him and a race victory that got away in race 2. Look at this. This hasn't stopped at all. And around goes Laidler. Spins, this time on a different part of the circuit, back end of the circuit this time. Gets off the circuit quickly as he can, because this is one of the quickest parts of the circuit here. Down to 16th goes Tumbles Laidler. CQR Tarkov down the order, down 7 spots where he started. and that is not ideal. But once again, this scrap just continues to go on. You'll notice that Adam Hedgecock now is ahead of, remains ahead of Christian Rose, but this time it's Ben Gregory that's dropped down to 10th. The Ferrari still looking pretty strong here. Looking at Ash Sutton's sector times, he was slightly quicker than Carl Janssen on that last lap, but only by 3 tenths. He's going to have to go quicker than that if he wants to get to the leader by the time the checker flag falls. But we'll monitor that gap as the second half of this race continues here.
Yeah, I doubt Sutton's going to be able to bring that gap down, unfortunately. But we'll certainly give it a go and try to put some pressure on the race leader. Here is Blackhall then. Yeah, going wheel to wheel almost with Harry Baird. 22nd and 23rd positions. As they're getting very close, just ahead of these gyros actually as well. Also very close between Thompson, just going past Smith out there. There he is. Just going down the inside through into the triple chicane. So yeah, Thompson up into 14th. Just seeing the gaps around him. In fact, he's got quite a big gap now. Got 2.5 seconds to catch up to McFarlane. And then after that, there's not really too many cars. So it might just be a case of getting to about 12th position for Thompson. And that might be as far as they get another relatively frustrating day for Thompson. Looks like he's going to be barren on race victories once again.
Yeah, it was going okay in race 1. And then after that, race 2 and race 3 have gone even worse. Here we are with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars, or maybe even more, fighting over 18 spots. Now, if this is in race 1 and race 2, this could be a really important battle because it would mean reverse grid here. It's all about pride and points. Into turn 1, it's Jason Rowe leading them all around. Then it's Michael Blake. And then it's Miguel Freitas, the privateer, and then Lars van Ryn after that. Top amp at the moment is still Mike Gray in P7, but this battle continues. Dan Kraft, what's happened to him? Something's happened. Oh, he's spun, that's what's happened.
Oh, that's with Gray, is it?
It is.
Yes. So they're both doing really well, and, well, they're not anymore.
Top quality analysis. Let's have a look at the replay then. Oh, it's the curb that bottoms out the beamer, and he goes straight on and off. Oh, and Mike Gray had nowhere to go in all of that. That is a shame. Meanwhile, Ben Palmer and Adam Hedgecock. And it's Palmer that gets by, so Hedgecock down to 10th place now. And Palmer up to 9th, Hackerton up to 8th, Gregory up to 7th, Rose up to 6th once that's all transpired, because of course we've lost Gray and we've also lost Kraft in all of that. So that is the state of play regarding those guys. Sutton, the gap has gone up actually. Now it's 5.4 seconds between him and Janssen. But the battle for the final spot on the podium is starting to heat up. That must be said. Dave Baker, purple sector 2. And Daniel McCauley, who's been in the top 3 since the start of the race, had a fantastic start, leapt out of the blocks, got the lead, dropped back to 2nd, now down to 3rd. Now his potential podium is under threat with Dave Baker and the CQR Race Hub starting to close down.
Yeah, that's certainly the case. They've got 6 seconds back to Chris Wood, so quite a comfortable margin in that department, and 3 seconds off Ash Sutton, who's, well, on that lap actually just set a slightly slower lap time than Carl Janssen, so certainly that top 2 seem pretty stable, and this is just a proper battle between these two. They are indirect teammates, let's say. They're not registered under the same team name, but they are both CQR, of course, and this really means that they can just go absolute, they don't have to hold back whatsoever when racing one another. And yeah, McCauley under big pressure, 1/4 of a second, can go for a dive into this turn 4. Has a look, oh, McCauley getting a wheel onto the grass, does well to get it stopped, but yeah, it's going to be really vulnerable on the exit. They both run slightly wider, only a 1/10 of a second between the pair. Then Baker looking to the inside, this is going to be a brave if he goes for it. Nearly had an off earlier on, off goes McCauley. He likes that line clearly, and it does this time pick up a slowdown. And well, no offence to Dan, that I think that was overdue.
Making through into second place then. Sorry, into third place with 3.5 minutes to go. Steve McCauley can respond, but going that line that we saw there going through the right-hander, that might just extend his lead a little bit more. Ross McFarlane then. His performances today have not been truly indicative of the pace that he has shown throughout the season. And here he is fighting over a potential spot inside the top 10, nearly flying into the back there of Adam Hedgecock. Going through the second part of the chicane, you can see the pace that he's got underneath the Ferrari. It's just that he's got a Porsche in the way. See if he can get it done on this lap here as we come onto the front straight. Of course, Adam Hedgecock doing quite well. Pro-Am driver, leading the Pro-Am category at the moment. So some useful points there for him. Oh, wow. Aldi not spun. Josh Thompson, he had a go at drivers in the YouTube chat for not using their brakes in race 2. He used his brakes there in race 3 because otherwise he would have been flying into the back of Ross McFarlane. From the helicopter then to the hairpin. 2.5 minutes to go here. Thompson round the outside. If he gets that done, that'll be pretty good. There is grip out there. But the Ferrari, ever the quick off the slow corners. Who's going to have the preferred line here? Thompson's got half an overlap. And he just about makes the corner as Hedgecock locks the brake. Now it's going to be Thompson's turn to try and get past the boost of a Savage Gaming car.
Yeah, so Thompson, I said a few minutes ago, didn't I, that he was only going to get 12th place, but in fact, a top 10 is very possible as he goes almost into the back of Adam Hedgecock. Looking to the inside. This is where it all went wrong for CQR, of course, in race 2, and Thompson does make that move nicely. So, good move there from Thompson, really showing his racecraft skills. And moves himself up into the top 10, but that should be as far up as we get. That whole top 10 kind of calming down a bit, apart from Hackerson and Palmer, because those two are wheel to wheel currently, pretty much side by side, I believe, going into turn 4 currently. That's the battle for 8th position. Hackerson almost coming across his rival. Palmer, who's been really strong today, gets the cut back, and that is a fantastic move there from Ben Palmer, really threading the needle. Trying to stay in it is Hackerson. He might try to come back down into the triple chicane. Great racing between the pair of them, and now a long way off the circuit is Hackerson.
Yeah, Hackerson flashing the lights, darting and diving and ducking all over the place there to try and get back past the CQR BMW, but on that occasion he wasn't able to. And now it's Hackerson down to 9th, Thompson 2.3 seconds away. Someone's dropping down the order. It's Michael Blake. Oh dear. And that is Tom Jacobs, and that is Miguel Freitas. He was already on his side at the start of the race, and now things have just taken a further turn for the worse. Credit to Michael Blake though. 2 really poor finishes in race 1 and race 2, but here 10 places gained up to P21. In terms of the AM category, that's him up in 7th, but it's still a finish. And look at that, battle for the Pro-Am lead, in fact, between Adam Hedgecock and Mike Gray. Gray, who's struggling with potentially a bit of front left damage, and it's Hedgecock that goes through with on the final lap of the race.
Yeah, great move, but is he going to be able to come back now? Is Gray down the inside? There's barely any room down there, but he finds some. And on round goes Hedgecock. Well, from going into the AM lead into dropping several positions. He's got quite a big pack of cars here. He could all go past him, but he can lose a couple of extra positions, and Hedgecock does well to recover.
Carl Janssen, meanwhile, a win for him over the line. Course Sim Racing, Carl Janssen wins the final race of the day here. Ash Sutton, a second in race 1 and a second in race 3. And it's going to be Dave Baker that comes across the line, sets the fastest lap of the race on the final tour as well. Baker completes the podium. Who's going to be the Pro-Am winner? It's going to be Mike Gray. I thought he was going off the circuit then. He's going to just about make it home. He's got Rusty Laidler chasing him down as well. In fact, no, it's going to be Ross... Oh no, Ross McFarlane's off the circuit. For a second I was worried. It's going to be Mike Gray that wins the Pro-Am race here. Rusty Laidler gets second in the Pro-Am fight. And Simon Underhill is going to get third. Paul Smith and Dan Craft are pretty close for comfort here as they come across the line. Just a couple of attempts of a second hit between those two. Tom Jacobs and Michael Blake also just 2 tenths of a second apart when the checker flag falls. And finally, it's Paul Gosling versus John Roberts. Porsche versus Ferrari here. And it's going to be Roberts who takes 25th and Gosling 26th. And that is everybody finished here as we complete the racing from here. Barber Motorsports Park. More antics, more nonsense potentially in the final race of the day. But Carl Janssen started down in 7th place, but was able to get a very decent start. And once he got the lead, he got that advantage, so that by the time that Sutton got into second, Sam, he was off and away and in complete command.
Yeah, made that big gap, didn't he? About 4.5 seconds over everyone else, and it was in the end that pace which really won him that race. And yeah, just another step towards the championship for Carl Janssen. Very responsible driving from him today. Of course, he did make that mistake in race 2, which was completely his fault, but the way that he managed to respond to that was mightily impressive. And another great race 3, just this Barber circuit. You know, not necessarily one that comes to mind for a lot of drivers, particularly on a world stage, but it's always really entertaining, isn't it? And yeah, I'm sure Road Atlanta will be the same next week.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. Got some interviews and the final race results to bring you first, though. And here they are. Carl Janssen wins, just 3.7 seconds ahead of Ash Sutton in the end. Ash, of course, setting the fastest lap of the race on the final lap. Dave Baker, a good podium there for Baker, with Danny McCauley, who was in the top 3 for the majority of the race, but fell out in the final minutes. Finishes 4th. Chris Wood 5th. Christian Rose finishing in 6th place. That is a good salvage operation, considering with a couple of laps to go, he was about 10th or 11th. Ben Gregory 7th, Ben Palmer 8th, Josh Thompson 9th, and Ben Hackerson 9th, and Josh Thompson 10th. A trio of Bens there, 7th, 8th, and 9th. Then Josh Thompson 10th, Ross McFarlane finishing in 11th place in the end. And then a trio of AMs, the top 3 in the AMs, in fact, Mike Gray, Rusty Laidler, and Simon Underhill. Dan Kraft finishing in 15th place. Then we've got Paul Smith, the Yorkshireman, 16th, with fellow Pro-Am competitor Adam Hedgecock, 17th. Jacob Blackhall finishing in 18th place. That's okay result considering where he's been earlier. Andy Shield 19th and 20th for Jason Rowe. Michael Blake there in 21st place. Tom Jacobs 22nd, and then Lars Van Rijn in 23rd. Miguel Freitas, the Portuguese, was on his side at one point, ended up finishing 24th. Then John Roberts, Paul Gosling, Mark Woodhouse, David White, and then the cars that had issues during the race. Barry Baird, Jason Dilworth, Michael Hall, Matt Bunn. Not the best meeting for those two either at all. And then Chris Daines 15 laps down. Right, we do have Christian Rose waiting to talk to us, so I will drag him into the interview room, and we'll kickstart the interviews with a man who did well in race 2 and did well to get up to 6th place in race 3, which will hopefully keep him in with a shout in terms of the championship standings. So he joins us now, and Christian, welcome.
Good evening.
How are you?
Yeah, it was a good, nice racing actually. I really enjoyed that tonight. I thought there was a race, overtaking was going to be really difficult, but if you were able to judge your moves, then you could make a good few overtakes, and good fun racing throughout for me anyway.
Race 2 in particular, decent haul of points, especially with Carl Janssen having a spin on the exit of the final corner. It was just a shame for you that he was able to get some of those places back towards the end.
Well, yeah, I was right behind him when he spun, and I was like, this is perfect opportunity for me to claw back some of those points he's got on me. And I'll look at the finish, and he's still in 10th. And I'm like, if he's making a mistake and he's still finishing 10th, I'm going to have to do something pretty remarkable to overhaul that deficit.
And you were mentioning some of the good racing out there. There was surprisingly, we were talking at the beginning of the programme about where on earth we're going to get the overtaking, but we had the hairpin, we had a particular favourite of the drivers was also going into the triple chicane, and also doing the switchback on some of the drivers going through the final sector of the lap.
Yeah, no, I think the majority of the racing, I've only seen it from my perspective this evening so far. I'll go back and watch the races now, but I think that people gave a lot of respect to the other competitors around them. If you leave the space and for people to race and not crash, then you're going to get good overtaking manoeuvres and good clean racing. Okay, that might not always happen, but I think on the whole, people have a lot of respect.
Road Atlanta next week, a bit narrower, I believe, and a bit less runoff. So it's going to be interesting, and a very long straight to deal with too. So could we be seeing some of the slipstreaming battles that we see at the summer circuits like we've been to earlier in the season?
I think you're definitely going to see that. I really enjoy driving Road Atlanta. I think it's one of the best circuits in the world. Proper old school, as I say. If you make a mistake, the walls are fairly close, and they're going to bite you pretty hard. Obviously, I think the Porsche is still a bit down in the straight line speed, so we're going to have to try and work on that, and maybe try and optimise our car for maybe the first part of the lap. And yeah, we'll see how we go next week.
Finally, I'll probably keep asking you this every time you come into the interview room, but are you doing the karting 24-hour race at the beginning of May?
I'm not. Unfortunately, I'm away, so I can't come along. I was pretty gutted about that. I thought from what they did last year, it looks like a pretty cool event, and especially with a lot of other people from within our community going as well. I think that's going to be a fantastic weekend, and yeah, be good to see the inter-team rivalries.
Oh yeah. Well, I think that's me out of my comfort zone. It's going to be pretty interesting there. But yeah, well done on today anyway, Christian. Thanks for taking the time to come and speak to us. And before we let you go, do you want to send a quick shout out to anybody?
Yeah, there's just to everyone in CQR. A lot of us put quite a bit of time into making sure that everyone's comfortable within the cars. We've got a lot of drivers over all the different cars. So yeah, big shout out to them. Obviously, big shout out to you for the fantastic coverage as always, and to Simmortals as well.
Great. Well, well done today, and all the best for Road Atlanta next week.
Thank you. Take care.
Christian Rose there. Right. Who shall we target next? Then we've got Carl Janssen. I think we'll drag him up, and then we'll end the evening with two drivers that have been in the wars somewhat, Rusty Laidler and Ben Gregory. So we'll drag Carl up. If we don't cause him to stop talking to anybody. There we go. Got him in now. Carl, well, welcome to the commentary box, and well done on a very decent drive in race 3.
Yeah, it was good. Managed to gap away a little bit in the beginning of the race, and then managed to have a very similar pace with Ash, so he couldn't catch me.
And in race 2, most of the time you find yourself at the front of the field, but after that spin in race 2, you had to fight your way through the field. Do you have to do that often?
Like, it's often it happens in this series that you have to fight your way through, but coming from that far back, that's not many times that have happened this season.
How's the Ford out there? Because we haven't got too many of them in the field these days. Is there a reason for that?
I think that the BMW just is more what should we say, stable.
Yeah.
Especially in the last turn, it's very hard to keep the Ford pointing straight, while the BMW with its anti-dive suspension and all that just can pretty much send it into the corner and then knock the brakes on. So I think that's the only downside really with the Ford. Also that its traction isn't as good as like the BMWs or Porsches, so it's very hard to make passes on them.
Next week then, Road Atlanta. How's the Ford going to handle around there? Is that going to be another tricky circuit for it?
Road Atlanta is actually probably the best, or one of the best tracks for the Ford. So, I think I have a very, very good chance there, especially with our pro qualifying setup. It should be very, very good.
Great. Well, before we let you go, do you want to send a quick shout out to anyone?
Yeah, I want to thank everyone at Core Sim Racing, and also you guys for broadcasting.
Great. Well, well done on the win in race 3, and hopefully we'll be chatting to you again next week after Road Atlanta.
Yeah, for sure. Carl Janssen there, and let's go on to
We are blessed. We have got Josh Thompson and Rusty Laidler in the interview room. Couldn't get more fiery personalities if we tried. I think it's only fair then that we drag both of them up for the final say here today at Barber Motorsports Park. We're joined by two of the biggest characters I think we can say in the World GT Championship. You probably don't agree with me. Josh Thompson and Rusty Laidler.
What?
Josh, a change of paint scheme for you, and it looked like it worked okay in race 1, but then after race 2 and race 3, things took a bit of a turn for the worse.
Yeah, at least the car actually looks good on the stream. That's the only good thing about it at the moment, to be honest with me. A race qualifying kind of hurt a bit, obviously, knowing I could have had a lot more time in the car, but just kept making silly mistakes, which obviously I thought was just because obviously the track resets. I went into race 1 and I was just so inconsistent, and it was just annoying because it was like a little bit here and there. But when you're racing Ash and Carl, you can't afford those little bits. So obviously it adds up over a race. But yeah, after race 1, it just went all the way downhill.
Oh. Rusty, race 2, it was like, I don't know, it was like the days of 2014 in the BSRTC, you and Ash Sutton having a good old battle for the lead, and then it just went a bit wrong with a couple of laps to go.
I was going to say that really did feel like a proper blast from the past. That, and yeah, we've gone from one caliber of driver, from Josh to myself. But yeah, that tonight was the first time I felt like myself in two or 3 years at least. I got to the bottom of a few hardware issues. I found out that I've been driving with a broken load cell for the last 2 years.
Did me?
So I only found that, I think, when was that? I think it was when I switched to the BMW is when I found my load cell was buggered. But I mean, the progress that I've made this season, looking at tonight and where I was at if you look at the first half of the season, I was nowhere. I was so depressed. I was on the verge of quitting iRacing altogether because it was literally the worst I've ever been. And to now, that race with Ash, that race too, just in general, from the get-go, just was perfect. But I mean, the biggest man I got to say thank you here is Josh, who's been helping me with the car. All season long, all season, even when I was in the Ferrari, he was helping me. And yeah, even the first race, I felt really comfortable. But race 2, I was expecting to go backwards pretty quickly. And I think after lap 2 or lap 3, I kind of got into a bit of a groove. And that was it. I was just monitoring the gap. I wasn't pushing too hard. But for some reason, the car really switched on at the second half of the race. It was just had a nice little bit of slip. And but I could really throw it in. But yeah, it was like a blast from the past. I just hope that it wasn't a flash in the pan.
Well, yeah, we'll have to see Road Atlanta next week. Obviously, I think even after the spin, you were still the top hand. But what happened actually between you and Ash? You came close. I don't think you touched, but was there just not enough grip on the outside?
No, there was a little bit of contact. All it was, as I went up over the crest, I got a bit of a wiggle, which I generally did most laps. And I think there was a little bit of contact between Ash and myself, which just upset both cars. And then mine just sort of snapped. Like I held it, and it just snapped. And rather than try to just really wrestle it, I was just all right. Just get the car stopped, because if I hit the wall, it would have been game over. But yeah, I had a good enough gap. I finished 8th, I think it was in the end. Which, if you were to say that to me 3-4 weeks ago, I'd have snapped your hands off for that. But no, just trying to do the best I can for the CQR Tarkov team. I think we're leading the AM teams, so Jake and myself are working together really, really well, and I'm hoping that we get to work together again next season.
Cool. And Josh, last question with you. Road Atlanta next week. Is that a circuit that might just favour the BMW? You might get you back on track here.
The BMW comes in the shape of a Ford, then maybe.
Wow.
I don't know. To be honest, I just feel really defeated with the car at the moment. Obviously, it's not been the easiest rides. I'm glad it's helped like people like Rusty, who've just got with the car, really. It's just clicked. Obviously, I'm still trying to work on that. So, Road Atlanta, I do enjoy the track a lot. So, hopefully that will make up, because obviously Barber's a bit of a freak one we don't do that many laps at. So, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm just going to have to go in and just hope, really.
Cool. Yeah. Josh, before we let you go, do you want to send a quick shout out to anybody?
Yeah, you guys for the broadcast. It's great as always on the Esports Network, so thank you for that. All the admins at World GT, without them guys, we wouldn't have the league as good as it is. Everyone at CQR, and obviously Mavano.
Brilliant. And Rusty, just before I ask you to do your shout outs, are you doing the 24-hour go-kart race in May? I seem to be asking everybody that steps in the interview room this.
Maybe.
Oh, well, I think I might have asked you this before. Now I've just realised.
In the group chat.
Yeah, I am in the.
Look at everyone who's in the group chat's racing, Adam.
Oh dear. Well, there's just under a month to go for that. So
you better hope you're not doing this a stint at the same time as me.
Oh dear, if it's in the middle of the night, then I think I'll be getting proper night terrors. But before that happens, Rusty, do you want to send a quick shout out to anybody?
Just the same as Josh, really. All the admins, yourselves for doing the broadcast. Everyone in CQR, as I say, I really can't thank those guys enough because they are the ones that have kept me going. So many times I've wanted to walk away from this just because being down in the dumps and just not getting on, but they've all helped me kind of get back on track, as to turn a stupid pun. So yeah, I can't thank them enough. I've been friends with those guys for bloody years. And just everyone tonight, really, the racing was absolutely incredible. I was fighting with some people I haven't fought with for donkeys. So yeah, it was literally everyone.
Well, yeah. Hopefully you can stay on track next week at Road Atlanta. So guys, thanks very much for joining us, and yeah, all the best next week.
Yeah, thank you very much. See you later, boys.
Josh Thompson and Rusty Laidler there. Right. We've spoken at length about the Pro Battle. We've got two drivers from the Pro-Ams that are now been sitting patiently, waiting to talk to us as the sun slowly begins to set here. In fact, it already has set on the Barber Motorsports Park as darkness begins to roll in. It's Michael Blake and Simon Underhill, two drivers that have had contrasts in fortunes here today. I tell you what, we've been in this session for so long that it's actually expired on us, but they're here anyway. They're here in the commentary box now, and hopefully I've given Sam Fitzpatrick enough time to build up his voice and do the final interview of the day.
Thank you very much. And yeah, of course, Michael, well done out there. Of course, a bit of a tricky race for you today, but you still accumulated some points, and you must still be feeling quite positive with 2 rounds of the championship to go.
I'm getting a little bit nervous, actually. Simon's brought the gap down to 12 points now. So we're literally, when you dragged us up, we're trying to work out average scores and stuff so we can sort out the drop scores. But yeah,
it's confusing as hell.
Got me a little bit nervous.
Yeah, certainly us in the commentary box don't want to tackle that. With the drop scores, who does that look like it's going to benefit, Simon? Do you think you're going to make up some points with that system?
I'm not racing next week, unfortunately. I'm away on Aldi, so I think it's going to be down to the wire and the final Spa endurance race. So I've currently got a drop week of 28 and 0, so that 28 points will carry over into next week without even turning a wheel, and my second drop week will be another 0. So it's all about what Mike does next week.
Yeah, so it's for you, Michael, it really does come down to Road Atlanta. Is it that a strong circuit for you? Do you enjoy that one? Do you think your Porsche will go well down there?
No, I struggle there actually. In the VR, was it ILMS, the 6-hour ones, the official, we thought we were quite good on pace there, but when we actually got into the session, we were really slow. So yeah, it doesn't bode well. I'll have to try and do a bit of testing and see if I can get some help from someone.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll be able to certainly pick it up for next week. And so just a word on your race today. Really good race 1, I think. I think you got 10th position in race 1. A couple of small issues, I believe, in race 2, but then a solid race 3 as well. So surely that must be one of your best meetings of the season.
I think it's up there with one of the best. First race was a top AM drivers, so that was a really good race. I was well pleased with that. Second race, unfortunately, had a bit of a coming together with Josh. He got a bit of a wiggle on through the little S, after getting a slowdown in the corkscrew. So I apologise for Josh, but he was sideways. And then third race again with Josh, I touched him, but a lap later I let him have the place back. So it was a good haul of points, and I think it's what I needed this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we let both of you go, anyone you'd like to thank? We'll go for Michael first.
Sorry, say that again.
Anyone you'd like to thank?
Drive Doctors and Dragon Internet, our sponsors, you guys for the broadcast, and all the admins that put the series together.
And Simon, any shout-outs you'd like to give?
Yeah, just anybody who does follow me. Big shout out to them. You guys especially. Not a big shout out to my wife for booking a holiday for next week, but there we go.
What can you do? Good to talk to both of you, and see you, Michael, next week, and Simon in 2 weeks' time.
I might drive back from Scotland for 4 hours and race. You never know.
You said you weren't, so you can't. You said you weren't. You're not allowed.
You never know.
No, you said you weren't. You can't do it.
See you both soon.
See you.
See you guys.
God, told there, dear. Simon Underhill and Michael Blake to end the evening. And what an evening it has been. That is it then. We are out of time here in the World GT Championship. Don't forget, over on Apex Racing TV, we've got Arithmetic Sports Car Series action coming to you in the middle of the night. That is just after 1 o'clock in the morning British summertime. So in terms of Eastern, 12, 11, 10, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8 p.m. Eastern time. A bit of quick maths going on there. Also, if you like racing like this, British Sim Racers Touring Car Championship Round 2 returns next week. This week, in fact, Thursday. Most Sport in Canada, I'm reliably informed. So that should be good. Actually gets underway same time as this did, actually, 8 p.m. British summertime. Make sure you can join us for that. And of course, all the other racing that's coming across the iRacing Esports Network over the coming weeks. Well, thanks to Sam, an ailing Sam Fitzpatrick, for joining me. I'm sure the Lemsip supplies across the UK have been weak, or across East Anglia anyway, have been weakened somewhat by his illness. And hopefully I don't get it either. But we're going to wrap things up here from the World GT Championship here at Barber on an evening where wins for Carl Janssen and a couple of others. I mean, that the championship is in fine fettle going into the final 2 race meetings of the season. What a botched out show. We'll see you in a couple of days' time.